And then also in front of the agenda board, there is a box that has the information about facilitating the collaborative inclusion plan. Now that groups are starting to work on their collaborative inclusion plans, I didn't want to provide this information too soon, but now is a good time to provide you the information. You can go ahead and buy it. I'll keep that out for the rest of the semester, so if you don't want to buy it now, you don't have to. We aren't going to review it now, though. What I would like you to do is review it with your group at a time that's convenient for your group. And then if anyone has questions, one or two students can come to office hours and ask those questions after you've reviewed it. Why do you think I would suggest two instead of just one student coming to ask questions? Oh yeah, get it, Leanne. Our frame of reference, that's one thing. And what else can be impacted by having two people there? Selective perception. Thank you, Betsy. Yes, yes, yes. So due to frame of reference and selective perception, it's sometimes beneficial to have two people there instead of just one, because wanting to make sure that things are conveyed the way they're meant to be conveyed. Awesome. I'd like you all to go ahead and start the activator at this time. And I'm going to give you all, let's see, until 5:10, so 6 minutes to go ahead and answer these questions and submit the note card to me. If you've already done so, I know I've already gotten Robert's, you can take the next 6 minutes and review the facilitation directions if you would like. But at 5:10, we will review this activator, so please make sure your note card is submitted by 5:10. And I was reading as they were coming in, I was reading, I got to read a lot of people's note cards. How would you define frame of reference? Anyone at all, using your speak key.
One's perspective.
So one's perspective? Excellent. And how does frame of reference impact one's, let me rephrase that. What is impacted by someone's perspective?
It's based on background experiences, and everybody's perspectives are going to be different because of this.
Excellent. That's exactly what I was driving at. So everyone's perspectives and how they approach situations is going to be different based on their frame of reference, because we've all had different background experiences. The reason that I asked you to define culture is only because I wanted to then go into how does culture impact frame of reference?
You're brought up in a certain way, your personal ideas and personal points of view are going to be different than those who are raised in a completely different culture. Just take from here living in West Virginia to somebody who's grown up in Washington, D.C. or New York. It's going to be a completely different mindset and point of view on maybe the same topic. That's why we have debates all the time.
Excellent. Definitely. Definitely. And with frame of reference, how would that impact one's selective perception?
Well, with selective perception, it's based on, you have to choose your priorities in a situation, and based on our background information, everybody's priorities are going to be different.
Very well stated. Y'all are so prepared for class. I love it. I love teaching graduate level. Everyone always actually reads and comes prepared. It's delightful. Frame of reference and selective perception is going to go all into, it's going to all tie into our interpersonal communication lesson tonight. So if you could follow me to our first display board, we'll get started. This is one of my favorite topics. So what I'd like you to do at these first two display boards involve factors that interfere with effective listening. I would like you to look over these factors that interfere with effective listening and be prepared to share an example of one of them that you have encountered. Okay, who would like to go first?
I think I have an example.
Yay, awesome. Go right ahead.
For responding to assumptions, and I could be wrong, but every year, being in an elementary school and having the previous teachers available, they feel, I guess, forthcoming to tell you about the students you're going to have. So, as much as I try not to listen to them and I respect their opinion, but I think, my guard might be already up with some of the students based on past experiences of other teachers and the things I've heard, and that's kind of responding to assumptions.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. Does anyone have another example?
I have an example of rehearsing a response.
Awesome. Go right ahead, Vernon.
A lot of times this happens actually with the students that I work with, that I can tell that the wheels are turning in their head. They're thinking about what they're going to say. They're not hearing one word that I'm trying to get out. They're just thinking about how this teacher is wrong, and this teacher, totally doesn't like them, and it feels quite ineffective at times.
Excellent example. And I think everyone in here, I can't speak for everyone, but I know I've engaged in rehearsing a response while listening to someone else in the past. Another example. Thank you, Vernon.
I have an example for time communication. Where I work, we have a multi-cat person, which is myself, and then our caseload went over 15, so we got a second person, which is in the afternoon. And sometimes we cross paths, but sometimes we don't. So we often don't get to communicate about the students that we share. So there's not really time because I have to go to my other school, and he's coming from the school he was at in the morning.
Awesome example. And I think this is one that's quite common in K-12. Thank you. And that was Tina. Awesome. Thank you, Tina. And who else has another example?
I have an example for rehearsing a response. As a behavior specialist, I would go to quarterly meetings for my client, and I would be responsible for a report on programs and behaviors and various things. And you find yourself sitting at the table thinking about what you're going to say rather than listening to what everyone else is saying about the client at the time, and you miss out on important details.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. And another example of any of them.
I have an example.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I kind of have an example of stumbling on hot words or phrases, but I know a lot of times if I pick up the phone and someone is already angry or complaining about something, I will instantly put my guard up and kind of be more defensive and have a tendency not to listen really well.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Leanne. And that's what happens a lot when I think it's the natural reaction. Why do we respond that way when someone is angry?
I think
because
that we. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think we respond that way when we feel that someone's angry. It's because we know when we're angry that we don't want to be talked to by the person that might have made us angry. And when you are feeling that way, you kind of just take everything offensively and everything's against you, no matter even if it's true or not, but that's just how you feel.
Definitely. And why do we respond to anger by getting defensive?
Well, in my experience, it seems like that they are accusing me of doing something wrong, and I take it more personally than I would otherwise.
Excellent. That's exactly what I was going for. When we become defensive when someone else is angry, it's because we're taking it personally. Is anyone else? Actually, let me rephrase that. Are we responsible for anyone else's emotions? No, we're not. Is anyone else's behavior a personal attack against us directly? No, it's not. Everyone's behavior has to do with their own situation, their own frame of reference that they come from. A lot of times, if someone engages in bullying behavior, it's because it's been effective for them in the past, and they've been reinforced for it by getting what they want. And so they continue to repeat that behavior because it's effective. All behaviors that repeat are just behaviors that have been reinforced. And so if someone's lashing out with anger, they're doing so because it's been reinforced in the past in some way for them anyway. Either they get a reaction out of someone, or they get attention for it, or they get to avoid something. But it has nothing to do with us. So I just wanted to point that out. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, Leanne. And Lisa, did you have an example that you wanted to share?
I was just going to say that I'll be one of the first to admit that I have a problem with daydreaming, especially if it's one of those conferences or seminars that everyone has to go to and you hear day in or year after year. I am probably one of the worst about just, my mind will, something they'll say triggers a thought and it'll just go with it. And that's me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And so with coming back to these factors that I just want to make sure we touched on all of them. We touched on responding to assumptions. So that's when we're not actually listening to what they're saying, but we're responding to what we assume they are saying, which is never effective. And we talked about insufficient time for communication. We had examples of daydreaming, rehearsing a response, stumbling on hot words or phrases. What is filtering messages? What is that as a factor of interfering with effective listening? Sorry about that.
I think I do that sometimes. Like, I'll have, it seems, 2 or 3 people always wanting to talk to me at once. So I'm kind of filtering down to what I think important and responding to that and kind of not listening to everything else.
Excellent. And so it's when we're picking out a portion of what we're going to listen to and then letting go of the rest. Leanne calls that multitasking.